what each HX product... Wow, that was hard to say. What's up, everybody? This is Steve Sterlacci. Today, we are looking at which Line 6 product is going to be best for you in your particular situation. Also, stick around because I'm actually going to be talking about a giveaway that I'm doing with my friends at Sweetwater for an HX Stomp XL. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name's Steve Sterlacci, and I have been gigging and touring with my Line 6 products from the full-bore Helix, HX Stomp XL, and I recently got an HX1. And I get asked all the time, which one is best for me? Which one's best for my situation? Here's my needs. Which one should I go with? And I thought it'd be a really cool idea to put together a video on my thoughts and how I've used these professionally. So I have actually probably toured the world with each of these products in one way, shape, or form. Between me, our lead singer, who's also my wife, Jessica Lynn, and my bass player, who is my father-in-law, Peter, we pretty much have all been touring on Line 6 gear for the past, since 2017, so 7 years now. And we will never go back because the digital rigs have become so good and we fully rely on them when we're on tour. Why you should go with Line 6 in general, in my opinion at least, if you're going to be a touring musician that's going to be, flying and traveling a lot, the main reason that I would say to stick with Line 6 is that they're accessible. When you're on the road traveling and you're doing a lot of touring, a lot of what goes into my brain when I'm trying to decide on gear is, if something breaks, can I get it replaced and can I get a new one immediately? And Line 6 is all around the world, everywhere, so I'm very comfortable taking one of their products and not worry about not being able to replace it. So if something goes down, I can always buy a new one and import my presets and I'm off and running. And also just me personally I'm looking around my floor. I've had all of these on my stage in front of me, whether it's in the studio or on stage. I've had each of these with me. So I do feel pretty confident in laying out the pros and the cons of each. And Line 6 has really done a great job of kind of being a Goldilocks mentality when it comes to their product line, because you can go from the full-size Helix floor, which might be too big for some people, and then you can go as small as the HX1, which would be perfect for somebody on a pedal board. And everything in between, the HX Stomp and the HX Stomp XL, all have their place, and there's a right product for you and your particular situation. Let's start off with old Grandpa Helix. I toured exclusively with the Helix for a very long time. I recently made a video about why I no longer tour with the Helix and opted for a smaller modular rig. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So who is the Helix for nowadays? Now that it's almost a decade old, people seem to be wanting to write off the Helix as a great option, and I think you couldn't be more wrong if that's your mentality. The Helix floor is, I think, the best gigging experience in general across any of the modelers and any of the platforms. If you're gigging and you need to make adjustments, you need easy access, you need to visually see what you're stepping on, and you need quick access to everything, the Helix cannot be touched by any of the other modelers, in my opinion, when it comes to that. It's got great ins and outs. It's got a built-in expression pedal if that's your thing. Me personally, I don't use an expression pedal. That's why I kind of have moved away from the full Helix floor. It just got a little bit too big for me, and you'll see my rig later in the video. But as far as a perfect gigging machine, the Helix really is it. If you don't mind carrying the weight and you need an expression pedal, there is no substitute for the Helix. I would say the only cons, and it's hard to even pick a con for the Helix floor because it has such a place in my heart. I literally made a living with this thing for years. This is my father-in-law's, by the way. Mine's downstairs. It just never let me down. It sounds great. Since they redid the cab engine and they redid all of the models a couple years ago, it sounds so good. There's no reason you can't get pro sounds out of these boards. The only downside to the Helix, and just being a reality of life, is that it's old and newer products are coming out with more space and more technology. But as far as thought out gigging machine, the Helix still is worth its weight. And I will always love the Helix and recommend it to anybody that's a serious gigging professional. You can't go wrong with the Helix. So now let's go to the total opposite end of the spectrum and talk about the HX1. So the HX1 is the smallest and newest in the product line. The HX1 is pound for pound the most powerful pedal. It's small. It does everything. You have all of the Line 6 effects built into here. So if you've ever seen an HX effects on a board, this has all of the HX effects, all of the new models that are in the Helix and the HX Stomps are all built into here. It does not do amp modeling. It does not do cabinet modeling. It does not host impulse responses. This is just purely for effects, and it does a great job. If you have a real pedal board, if you're somebody that uses a real pedal board that just wants a Swiss Army knife that can do anything that you don't want to invest in or something you don't want on your board, I would put this on every pedal board I ever own for the rest of my life. It's a fact that this is something that every guitar player actually needs. There's no question about it. You can pull up any fuzz, any modulation, tremolo, whatever it is, especially if you have that one song in your gig that needs that one sound and you're like, oh, do I have to buy a pedal just for this one song? And trust me, we've all been there. This solves that problem. It has this flux feature and a tap tempo built into it. The flux allows you to have two different settings per pedal. So, for example, if I have a distortion pedal, I can use the flux to control the gain level and the level so I can actually hit it on for a more saturated sound or for a solo boost. You can also control the ramp on and off times. So if you have an effect you want to speed up and slow down or bring in a delay mix, you can have all sorts of cool things happen with that flux feature. It's a very powerful feature and really gives you an amazing amount of options when it comes to a very small, MIDI controllable, stereo in, stereo out pedal. You can even run this in 4-cable method and have it before the amp and in the effects loop of the amp. So you can have some effects go before, some effects go after, depending on which preset you're on. It's insane what this thing can do. And it's hard to come up with cons for this. I would say the only con is that they don't have a great editor for the computer yet. But honestly, being its single effect, having 3 knobs and being able to page left and right really makes it easy to dial in. And as far as cons go, I really don't have much for this. Is it big? I don't know. Is this too big for a single pedal? No. Most 2-button pedals are probably bigger than this. So yeah, I don't think I have a con for this. It actually even runs on regular 9-volt, 500 milliamps, so you don't even need an extra power supply for this. It runs off of most basic pedal power. Next up, we have the HX Stomp. When this broke out, I think that this pretty much broke the gear world. I think the HX Stomp is probably the greatest pedal to ever come out. And I say that with full confidence because of what this small package can do. It can do amp models, it can do effects, it can do everything the HX1 can, and it can do everything the Helix Floor can within a smaller boundary. So you have stereo in, stereo out. You have the USB desktop editor. It's a recording interface, headphone out. This thing does everything. And who is this exactly for? Why would you choose the HX Stomp? In my opinion, if you're a minimalist, if you're somebody that only needs 1 or 2 foot switches per night. So I'm looking at your singer-songwriters, your front person, your bass players that typically won't need, or if you're just a guitar player that isn't like the rest of us and actually only uses 1 or 2 sounds, imagine that. Then the HX Stomp is a amazing option. You can get all of these external, they make all these cool things. Line 6 doesn't make this in particular, but this is an added 2 foot switches. So now I've got 5 foot switches built into this. And you could put it on your board. You can run acoustic through it. You could run electric to it. Actually, I'll show you. This is the board that my wife tours with. My wife, Jessica Lynn, being our front person. So she's got 2 wirelesses on here, one for her acoustic, one for her electric, and it just goes right into the Stomp. And that's the whole rig. I mean, that's it. So she plays rhythm guitar and acoustic guitar, obviously, and doesn't need much more than a clean sound, a dirty sound, and a solo boost. And she uses a headstock tuner and is literally done. So the HX Stomp rig is perfect for her, and I think it'll be perfect for anybody with minimalist needs. Also, it's perfect for a pedal board. If you're somebody that doesn't mind a little bit bigger of a footprint, like if you're just looking at from a size perspective, the HX1 versus the Stomp. So obviously the Stomp is more money, but you're getting a full signal path of 8 blocks. You can get up to 5 foot switches, amp modeling. So this can be your full backup rig or your entire rig. You can put this at the end of your pedal board, have all of your modulation, delays, reverbs, and amps, or not. You could send this to a real amp. You can sometimes have a real amp and sometimes not. It's the ultimate pedal, in my opinion. Line 6 completely destroyed the world with this pedal. This really broke the mold when it comes to Swiss Army knife, do-it-all, backup rig, every effect you can imagine. You just can't beat it. I'm sorry. I know what you're thinking. Where's the love for the HX effects, Steve? Where is it? Well, the HX effects is also just another amazing option, and something I'm going to mention here is my ideal, because the HX effects is a standard pretty much on every session player pedal board. I'm a gear hawk. I'm always looking at what players are using and what my favorite session players use. If you go to Nashville and LA, you will see an HX effects on damn near almost every board. Now I'm seeing a lot more HX1s because they're a little bit smaller footprint, but if you need more things, the HX effects is unbeatable. If you don't care about amp modeling at all and you just want effects, the HX effects, untouchable. Yes, it's big. It does require a separate power supply. It needs to be its own separate power supply, which does suck, just like the HX Stomp. You do need adapters if you're going to use a power bank. You do need adapters. The power supply is clunky and a little bit annoying, but it's worth it to have this because compared to the HX Stomps, the HX Effects has scribble strips, so you can actually see what pedal you're engaging right here, as opposed to having the screen like on the HX Stomp. So you can power things on and off and actually see what the name of the effect is. This can also do impulse responses. So if you're somebody that's using a load box with a real amp, you can go into here and have cabinets. You can have impulse responses. You can't do the HX cabinet engine, but you can do third-party impulse responses. It's got effects loops. It's got stereo in, stereo out. Just such a well-thought-out pedal. It has your mode where you can go from snapshots to pedal board mode, preset mode, whatever you want to do. Tap tuner, very useful. You can dial in exact tempos by using the touch capacitance switches. You can tap on the side, turn the knob, dial in exact tempos. Just an overall amazing unit. And again, the cons are pretty much just the power supply and maybe the size, because it is quite big. But if you're a serious pedal board user and you're a serious guitar player that doesn't mind having every pedal ever imaginable and 6 foot switches to control them, it's a no-brainer. All right, so remember before when I said we we're going to be talking about a giveaway? So my friends from Sweetwater are going to be giving away a HX Stomp XL, which is my favorite of the product line. I'm going to be starting a podcast in the next couple of weeks called the Silent Stage Podcast, where I'm going to be having guests on and talking about digital amp modeling, load boxes, profiling, capturing, all of the things that people are using nowadays that are going direct to front of house or direct into recording interfaces. We are going to be talking about it all. And Sweetwater's cool enough to be giving away an HX Stomp XL as a part of the first 3 episodes. So check out my mailing list down below, stevesterlacci.com, for when those first episodes drop. And check it out. They have this new white one. Why did they launch the white one after I already have the black one? I love the look of the white HX Stomp XL, and it also matches my board. So despite this being in pieces right now, I did take the wireless off of this for now. Normally I have a Shure QLXD wireless up here that I took off because I'm in the middle of a recording session with this, and I just kind of popped it off, and I actually put the HX1 here because I needed the feedbacker and I needed a couple of compressors. Things that I didn't want to put on the HX XL, I put on the HX1 up here. This is my current pedal board. And I made a video about why I'm choosing this pedal board over the full Helix floor. This setup, despite what people were thinking in that video, is lighter, easier to travel with. And the main thing of why I have it set like this, because I know what you're thinking, well, why don't I just take the Helix floor instead of this? Because this is huge. This is not huge. This is significantly lighter than the Helix floor. And also, my wireless fits on board. So that's a huge thing for me. A huge factor is that my wireless being on board means I only need to take my power cable and plug it in, and I'm done. So I literally show up to stages, I took this board on with me to Europe this year. I put this on the floor, I plug it in, I put my wireless pack on, and I'm done. So that's a no-brainer for me. And that kind of brings me to why the HX XL is the ultimate Line 6 product, in my opinion, because I'm going to call this a hybrid rig. And I'm seeing more and more hybrid rigs where it has a couple of real pedals and a modeler. Whatever company modeler you choose, I'm seeing more and more of this where we're getting some analog pedals, some digital pedals, and combining forces for the ultimate rig. I have my favorite overdrive pedal right in front, and then I have the Eventide H90. The Eventide H90 just does reverbs and delays flat out amazing. So I don't mind having what I don't get from the HX XL, which does have decent reverbs and decent delays, absolutely. But there are just a few things I prefer about this, and that's where the HX XL becomes the perfect Goldilocks size unit, because this is my all-in-one rig. This is my brain. I can do a whole gig with just this. If God forbid anything goes down with these two, or my wireless goes out, I could just use my HX XL and be fine. It's got tap tempo, it's got tuner, it's got 6 foot switches. I can get by on a gig with 6 foot switches, no problem. The rest of this is bells and whistles, stuff that I just like using and that I like the sound of, which at the end of the day, that's what's important, right? I need to have fun playing this also. I would say that the HX Stomp XL isn't for a traditional pedal board user. If you're a traditional pedal board user and you're not doing the hybrid thing, then I probably wouldn't go with the HX XL because of the horizontal height, the horizontal width, having the extra little bit, having no scribble strips. I would say just go with an HX Effects in that case, or if it's too big, go with a HX Stomp normal. But if you're going hybrid, real pedals, then a digital amp modeling rig where you're going direct to front of house, then the HX XL cannot be beat. I don't even have cons for the HX Stomp XL, aside from the power supply, which in my case, I'm using pedal board power. So I just needed a couple adapters. I guess you can call that a con because the power supplies really are crappy. I mean, first they came out with those like big, like chocolate bar bricks. And now like this is the power supply for all of the HX products. So the HX Effects, Stomp, and Stomp XL all have this power supply. So I hope this helped you decide on which Line 6 product is right for you. I know there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things to consider, and I hope that my experience and my suggestions helped you out here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them below. Sign up for the mailing list for the first notice of when the podcast drops. And if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.